She slammed her clipboard against my truck and shouted, "You can't park here. HOA rules." I didn't even turn the engine off. Red lights flashed at the end of the road because she had already called someone, or at least that's what she wanted everyone to believe. Neighbors stepped out with phones up, ready for drama. She smiled like she had already won. I stayed quiet, hands on the wheel, eyes on my side mirror. Calm makes people nervous. She leaned closer and lowered her voice. "This whole area belongs to us now. You don't belong here." Then she slapped a paper on my window. Bold letters, fake stamps, fake authority. I could smell the lie. She talked fast, used big threats, said words like fines, eviction, arrest. Every sentence ended with her pointing at my house like it offended her. Someone whispered my name from the crowd, like I was already guilty. A tow truck rolled in, way too quick to be real. The driver didn't look at me, didn't ask questions. Chains hit my tires. That's when my son opened the front door and froze. He's 10. He hates loud voices. Karen saw him and didn't slow down. She waved and said, "Your dad should have followed the rules." That line burned. Camera zoomed in. This was the moment she wanted. I stepped out and said one thing, soft enough that only she heard it. "That notice is fake." She laughed and said, "Prove it." Then she raised her phone and said she had already sent the report. Fake cops, fake papers. Real fear. The crowd shifted. Someone yelled, "Just move, man." Someone else said, "HOA always wins." Karen nodded like a queen. I looked at the land around us, the road, the trees, the fence you ordered built last month. I touched the keys in my pocket and felt the weight of something else with them. Paper doesn't lie. People do. I smiled, just a little. "You really shouldn't have touched my truck." She laughed loud so everyone could hear it. "Yours." She clapped once like it was a joke. The tow truck driver tightened the chain anyway. My son took a step back inside the house, slow, like he didn't want to make noise. That hurt more than the chain scraping metal. Karen saw it and smiled again. She always smiled when she thought she had power. 2 cars pulled up fast. Black and white paint, lights on. Not the same ones I usually see around here. The doors opened and 2 men stepped out. They didn't look at me first. They walked straight to her. She started talking before they even reached us, waving her phone, pointing at me, at my house, at the paper on my window. "He's trespassing. He's refusing HOA orders. He threatened me." She said it all in one breath. One of the cops finally looked at me. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." I did. Slow, hands visible. "Calm again. Calm makes liars rush." Karen crossed her arms. I warned him. "This whole block is HOA-controlled land." I nodded like I was listening. "Can I say something?" She cut in. "No." "Arrest him." The cop hesitated. He asked her for the HOA ID. She handed him a badge, plastic, new, to clean. He turned it over twice. His eyes changed just a little. Then he asked her for the property file. She froze for half a second. Not long, but enough. The tow truck driver suddenly said, "Hey, I just got a message." Karen snapped at him. "Ignore it." I reached into my pocket slowly. One cop tensed. I pulled out my phone and unlocked it. "I got a message too," I said. I turned the screen so only the cop could see it. A map, red lines, a big number. His eyebrows went up. Karen noticed. "What is that?" "Nothing," I said. "Just land records." She stepped closer to the cop. "He's lying. This land was sold years ago." The cop asked, "Sold by who?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. My neighbor across the street whispered, "Wait, didn't his uncle own farms out west?" Karen snapped her head around. "Stay out of this." The second cop walked toward my house, eyes scanning the fence, the markers near the trees. Old markers, legal ones. He stopped, bent down, touched one. Then he stood up and looked straight at her. "You said this was HOA land," he said. She said, "It is." He paused. "Then why does the county seal say?" Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. She laughed like she could still joke her way out. "That seal means nothing. Our HOA lawyer handles all of this." She reached for her phone with shaking fingers. The cop stopped her hand midair. Not rough, just firm. That scared her more. The tow truck driver slowly backed away from my truck, like it suddenly didn't belong to him. Chains dropped to the ground with a loud clank. People started whispering louder now. Phones came out again, but the angle had changed. This time, They weren't filming me. One cop asked me, "Sir, do you have proof of ownership on you?" "I do," I said, "but that's not the interesting part." Karen snapped, "He's stalling. He does this every time." I looked at her. "We've never met before today." A few neighbors gasped. Someone laughed. I opened my phone and played a short clip. No sound at first, just her, from earlier that morning, taping the fake notice to my door. Then her voice came in. Clear. "If he doesn't listen, we'll scare him out." The date and time were right there. One of the cops sighed. "Ma'am, did you place this notice?" She shook her head fast. "No. That's edited." I swiped again. Another clip. Her talking to the tow driver. "Don't worry, HOA covers you." The tow driver stepped back. "I don't know her." Her voice cracked. "You said you would help me." He shook his head. "You said it was legal." The crowd turned quiet. Even the birds felt loud. The second cop spoke again. "You filed a report saying this man threatened you." She nodded. "Yes." He looked at my son standing behind the doorframe, holding his backpack tight. Then he looked back at her. "You also said no children were present." She froze. I walked closer, slow. "You threatened my family," I said, "on land you don't own." She shouted, "You don't belong here." That's when I said it. Calm, clear, loud enough for every phone. "I inherited 1,000 acres. This HOA sits right in the middle of it." Silence hit hard. One neighbor whispered, "Wait. That means..." I cut him off with a small smile. "Yeah, it means she's been finding people on my land." Karen took a step back. Then another. She finally asked the wrong question. I didn't answer her right away. One of the cops did. "He's the owner," he said. Like it was already settled. Karen shook her head hard. "No, that's not possible. We have contracts. We have votes." Her voice got louder with every word, like volume could fix facts. I unlocked my phone again and handed it over. Not to her. To the cop. Deeds, maps, dates, a name at the top she didn't expect. The cop read it twice. Then he handed the phone to his partner. Neither of them smiled. Karen started backing away, slow at first, then fast. "This is a mistake. I was just enforcing rules." "Rules don't let you threaten kids," the cop said. A neighbor spoke up from the crowd. "She fined me last month for my flag." Another voice followed. "She towed my car on Christmas." Someone else said, "She said the land wasn't ours anymore." Karen turned on them. "You all agreed to this." No one answered. The cop asked her for the HOA registration papers. She handed over a folder. Half the pages were missing. The dates didn't line up. The seal was wrong. The cop looked at her and said, "You know impersonating authority is a crime, right?" That's when her phone rang. She answered fast. "Yes. No. Wait." Her face dropped. She slowly pulled the phone away from her ear. "They're not answering," she whispered. I said quietly, "Because there is no HOA here." "Not legally." The cop nodded. "County confirmed it." He turned to her. "You're under investigation for false reports, trespassing, and harassment." She snapped. "You can't do this to me." He replied, "You did this to yourself." As they moved toward her, she looked at me one last time, angry, scared, small. I leaned in and said the line she hear forever. "You tried to rule land you never owned." My son stepped outside then. The crowd made space for him without being asked. I put my hand on his shoulder. The flags on the street moved with the wind. And somewhere behind us, a neighbor whispered, "This isn't over, is it?" The cop didn't answer the neighbor. He just looked at Karen while another unit pulled up. This time the cars were real. County plates, different tone. No rushing, no shouting. Just wait. Karen's shoulders dropped like she finally felt it. She kept saying, "I was just doing my job." But no one asked her to keep talking. One officer walked the line of houses, pointing at fences, driveways, mailboxes. He asked simple questions. Who paid fines? Who got warnings? Who was told to leave? Hands went up. Stories poured out, not loud, not angry. Tired. People talked about late fees, threats, stickers on doors, cars towed at night. Someone said she once measured his grass with a ruler. Karen stared at the ground. I stayed quiet. I didn't need to speak anymore. Facts were doing the work. The county officer came back and said, "We need access to your HOA office." Karen laughed once, weak. "It's temporary." "Where?" She pointed down the street. We walked, Cameras followed. The office was a rented trailer parked on land she claimed was common area. Inside were printers, blank notices, stamps, fake badges, and a big board with names and fine amounts written in red. My son squeezed my hand when he saw his name there. I felt something tighten in my chest, but I kept my face calm. The officer took photos of everything. "This is organized," he said. "Not a mistake." Karen sat on the steps outside, shaking now. "They told me this was allowed," she kept saying. I asked, "Who's they?" She didn't answer. A man in a clean suit showed up late. Too late. He said he was legal counsel. The county officer asked him one question. "Who hired you?" The man looked at Karen. She looked away. He left without another word. By sunset, the trailer was sealed. Karen was placed in the back of a car. Not dramatic. No yelling. Just the sound of a door closing. The crowd didn't cheer. They watched. Sometimes justice is quiet. Before the cars left, the officer handed me a card. "We'll need statements. Also, you should know." "Know what?" "This land situation goes deeper." That night, my phone didn't stop. Messages from neighbors. Some said sorry. Some said thank you. Some asked if they were safe now. I told them yes. I believed it at the time. The next morning, a letter arrived. County seal. Formal tone. It said there were outstanding permits, leases, and agreements tied to my land. Old ones, buried ones, ones that shouldn't exist anymore. Someone had been using my acreage as leverage for years. Karen wasn't the start. She was just loud. I drove to the county office alone. The clerk recognized my name before I sat down. "We've been expecting you," she said. That wasn't comforting. She laid out maps across the desk. Lines overlapping lines. Some marked public access. Some marked private use. Some marked pending. She tapped one section. "This is where the HOA thought it had power." I said, "Thought?" She nodded. They were wrong. That they weren't alone. I learned that parts of my land were being used as shortcuts. Storage, even unofficial parking for years. Fees collected. Permissions sold. None of it legal. All of it hidden behind fake boards and fast talkers. Karen enforced. Others benefited. When I got home, a black SUV was parked near my driveway. No lights, no plates I recognized. A man got out, hands open, smile practiced. "I think we should talk," he said. I didn't invite him in. We stood outside. Wine between us. He said names, companies, community groups. He said my land was important. He said fighting would be messy. I said nothing. He leaned closer. "You could make this easy. Sign a few papers. Keep things as they are." I finally spoke. "You built a lie on my ground." He smiled thinner. "That's business." I shook my head. "That's theft." He left without shaking my hand. The next week, signs started going up. Official ones. County issued. Private property. No unauthorized access. Not aggressive. Just clear. Some neighbors cheered. Some looked worried. Change always scares people. A local reporter called. Then another. I said no to all of them. I didn't want no's, but no's came anyway. Someone leaked the footage. Karen's voice saying, "We'll scare him out," played everywhere. Then came the letter from her lawyer. Accusations, threats. I read it once and put it down. My lawyer smiled when he saw it. "They're panicking," he said. Court dates followed. Small ones first. Fines returned. Records corrected. Names cleared. People cried in hallways. One veteran hugged me without saying a word. A woman said she slept better for the first time in months. Karen tried to speak in court. She blamed pressure. Claimed she was following orders. The judge asked her for proof. She had none. The room felt heavy when the sentence came down. Not cruel, just firm. Outside, someone asked me if this was revenge. I thought about it. No. I said, "It's repair." I thought it was over. Then a survey crew showed up without notice. Wrong permits. Wrong attitude. I stopped them at the gate. One of them said, "We've always worked here." I said, "Not anymore." That night, I walked the land with my son. We watched the sky turn dark over acres that were finally quiet. He asked me, "Are they gone forever?" I said, "People like that don't leave easy." He nodded, "But they can't lie anymore, right?" I looked at the ground, solid under my feet. Not on this land. Far away. A phone rang in the dark. Someone else had just realized the game was over. The phone kept ringing in places I couldn't see, but no one crossed the gate again. Not that night. Not the next week. Quiet settled in, the kind that feels earned. The county finalized everything fast after that. Boundaries corrected, records cleaned. Every fake fine traced back and refunded. Every threat logged. Names of people who hid behind Karen came out one by one. Some apologized. Some disappeared. Karen took a plea. No speeches. No cameras. Just a signature and a lowered head. The judge read out what she did in plain words. The same way she once read fake rules to scared families. When it was done, she didn't look at me. She walked out smaller than she arrived. Power leaves people like air from a punctured tire. The land changed after that. Not the trees or the roads. The feeling. Kids played outside again. Flags went back up. Cars stayed where people parked them. No stickers. No threats taped to doors. Just normal life returning, slow and steady. One evening, my son asked if we were moving away now that everything was fixed. I smiled and shook my head. No. I said, "This is home." He ran ahead of me across the field like he owned the world. In a way, he did. Months later, a letter arrived from the county. Final confirmation. No disputes, no claims. 1,000 acres, clear, free. I folded it once and put it in a drawer. I didn't need to frame it. I could feel it under my feet every day. A neighbor stopped me at the fence and said, "You changed this place." I reply, "No, I just stopped the wrong people from running it." That night, the wind moved through the land like it was breathing again. No sirens, no shouting. Just quiet and distance and ownership that couldn't be faked. And the line people still quote, the one Karen never forgot, spread everywhere after that. I didn't inherit land to control people. I inherited it so no one could control us again.